As we got here. I feel like we just got here in August, and here we are on the eve of opening day. So, guys have worked hard. It's been good. It's been good, man. We're going to continue to grow. We're going to continue to get better. But I like where we're at today, heading into tomorrow. Obviously, got some beautiful weather out here tomorrow. So looking forward to getting out, competing against a Bradley team that's hungry to get down and play. Man, I talked to their coach this morning. They haven't been out a whole lot on the field, so those guys are going to be really hungry to get out in front of a good crowd and play tomorrow night. So it's going to be a good challenge for us, and I think the boys are ready.
Coach, how excited are you to finally actually get the season going? All these intersquad scrimmages, the fall games, all these practices. How excited are you to finally get everything rolling tomorrow?
Yeah, I mean it's a cool day. I mean obviously it's honestly for almost everybody else more than us. I think some of what I love in coaching more is kind of trying to build a group. Honestly, there's parts of the fall that are almost more exciting to me because you're able to kind of start to instill a culture and start to instill a mentality. And we're not a finished product yet. I think Oz would tell you that, both on the mental side or the physical side. We ain't a finished product yet. But that's the hope, is I think this group's made of the right stuff, and it's going to be a good journey for them to figure out who they are, what they're going to really care about this year. But it is fun, man. It's time to go play somebody else. I've seen this guy pitch way too many times against our hitters. I'm ready to go see him throw against somebody else. So they're ready, they're prepared. Now it's, man, go out, let it fly, and play fast, play hard, and have some fun with it.
Coach, the rotation came out yesterday. Obviously, what do you like about that group and this configuration for this weekend, especially with Q finally coming back and getting the ball on Saturday?
Yeah, I mean, obviously it's huge for us. Just Zane is built up. He's ready. Zane's continuing to get better. You guys heard me talk about him throughout the fall. He's in a great spot. He can give us a little bit of length on Friday night. And obviously, all things considered, you're not going to see him run out there for 105. But if he's clean, you could see him out there for 4 to 5 innings, depending on the stress level, depending on what he has to work through. But can get us a little bit of length, which you really want on opening day. Q is still building up. He feels great. He's healthy. For the first 4, 5, 6 weeks of the season, even, he's going to be on a pitch count because we got to be smart with him. I mean, he's not even 12 months off TJ yet. So just being smart, in a perfect world, we get him out there for 3 on Saturday. Just depending on how that goes, it'll be a shorter start for him, but hopefully you just continue to build that. If it's 3 this week, maybe 4 the following, then 5, and then hopefully by the time we roll into College Station, you can kind of take the reins off and let him run a little bit. And, man, Bobby Alcock is just such an awesome story. Came here from Gardner-Webb, threw a lot of innings. One of the things that drew us to him is, man, he just towed the rubber all the time for them. And then comes out and gets hurt opening weekend last year and was out for the entire year. There's no secret for people in that clubhouse. Bobby battled through some stuff last year, both in the classroom and doing some of that. And he just dedicated himself to coming back, and it's not the same guy. It is a different human in the way he's attacked the classroom. His body is in the best shape I've ever seen him in. And he just attacked he had the rehab, he attacked everything. Shoot, he was on the dean's list. If you'd have told me that guy was going to be on the dean's list about 8 weeks into the year last year, I'd have told you were nuts. So the way he's gone about his stuff has just been really impressive. And I think the great thing is, it was a hard decision on who to kind of run out there on Sunday. Bob, we thought, deserved it. He's experienced. He's done it at this level a lot. JT Blackwood, Oscar, had an unbelievable preseason. JT is going to be competing, pushing for a weekend type role, and I think he deserves it. With the way he's throwing the ball. So really excited for him. We'll probably use him in a couple different ways. You might see him this weekend. If not, you'll probably see him against Middle Tennessee on Tuesday, just depending on kind of how things shake out. But was electric. Bo Bryants has a chance to crack that thing. Just an electric lefty that had some ups and downs this preseason, but is a competitor deluxe. So I'm excited about how this thing starts, but this rotation's the rotation week 1. This is not a predictor of future weeks. We'll evaluate it as we go, but we like this one running out this weekend and what those guys bring to the table.
Carson, how ready are you to get your final season of college baseball going, especially your first season here in Tuscaloosa? You spent 4 years at Penn.
Yeah, I'm really looking forward to it. I had the best college experience I could have asked for at Penn these last 4 years, and I'm excited to end my college career with these coaches and this group of guys in the locker room, and especially with all these fans here at the Joe this weekend. I'm super pumped.
And as a closer, have you considered what walkout song you use going to the night yet?
Yeah, I've had the same walkout song the last 2 years, and I've chosen to use it again this year. It's "Burn It Down" by Warren Ziders. It's just a pretty good country song I like, and gets me fired up. So I hope it fires up the atmosphere too.
Coach, what are you looking to see out of the Pack offense, this weekend? What are some positive things like you want to see out of the offense this weekend?
Just consistency of at bats, and we did some good things in the preseason. We did some good things in the fall, but man, the pitching staff and the way they threw the baseball in this preseason made it tough on our hitters. It was hard to get things going because they attacked the zone. They were ahead. They were throwing, they were able to pitch backwards in certain counts to get back into counts, and it's pretty high octane stuff. There's a lot of different looks, a lot of different things. So, the consistency of our offense in the preseason was a little bit up and down, to be honest with you. So that's what I want to see, just competitive, tough at bats, just the consistency of that. Can we string 27 innings over the next 3 days of just competitive, tough at bats and have 27 just difficult outs every single game? Like, if we can do that, you give yourself a fighting chance, And so, to me, that's what I want to see. I want to see us go out there, and I would love to see us score some different ways. I'd love to see us, slug the baseball a little bit. I'd love to see us create a little bit, because I think the offense, transparently, is still finding its identity a little bit. There's a lot of new faces in that offense, and so there's a couple returners and some guys with some experience, but I just want to see a consistent, tough mental approach. That's what I want to see. If we can do that, it doesn't matter who we're playing. You get a fighting chance to get after them.
Carson, what excites you about competing against the SEC eventually down the line every weekend? I mean, we've seen it before. Think of that Auburn Regional when you were at Penn, but just doing it for your last year and at this level, what's exciting about that?
Yeah, so I had experience in it in that Auburn Regional, like you said, and it fueled me. I loved it, and it's something that I want to be a part of every single weekend. It was a one-time thing back when I was at Penn when we got to play at Auburn, and so I'm really excited to be in front of that type of atmosphere every single weekend this upcoming year.
Coach, you've talked about his stuff. What have you seen from him as he's geared up to take on this challenge?
This dude, the most consistent human ever. I think that's what makes Oz Oz. Yes, you can talk about this stuff. It's a low slot. Most guys from a low slot over there throwing the ball 86, 87 miles an hour. He's in the low 90s doing it. He'll come over the top and flash a mid-90s heater with it. The secondary stuff is good. But just his poise, that's the biggest thing you want on the back end. A guy is just a guy that's not going to flinch. And, we knew coming in that we had seen him. I spent a lot of time at Maryland, so I know that Penn program and what he said about his experience. I saw those guys. They were 2 hours down the road. That program, year in and year out, they do such an unbelievable job of preparing those kids to be successful and have an unbelievable program. So we knew we were getting a guy that could handle that. And it's done nothing but confirm it since he's been here. It's just he's so consistent in his work. He's just a pro at how he goes about his business. And I think trust at the end of the game is what you want. I know what I'm getting every time he runs out of the pen. Doesn't mean he's going to be perfect. And just like there's no guarantee for any of them, but I know he's going to compete with what he's got that day. And, man, it's a pretty heck of a good arsenal to go compete with. So I think that's what we trust is when the game's hanging in the balance is give it to him and let's ride.
Coach, what would your message be for the fans ahead of year two here for you?
Yeah, I talked to the Crimson Chaos were out here last night, and I talked to them a little bit last night. And just like we talk about, it's so easy. It's so easy when things are good to hop on a bandwagon. That's what normal fans do, right? Is you have 100 people show up, and all of a sudden you win a game and there's 200. Then you win a weekend and there's 400. And then you win a couple series in a row, and all of a sudden there's 2,000 people here. And it's easy to hop on the bandwagon when it's rolling. That ain't a hard thing. But I talk about to these guys all the time, we're not normal around here. We're not normal in Tuscaloosa. It's a little bit crazy. It's a little bit different. And my challenge to them is to show up consistently. To show up, man, because the SEC is an absolute bear. It's 30 games of straight hell for 10 straight weeks, which is what drew him here, which is what drew me here. It's the most fun thing to be a part of. It is awesome. But there's going to be some ups and downs to it because you don't see people go 30-0 in the SEC. It just simply is not happening. There's going to be some ups and downs, and it's amazing. I told the Crimson Chaos guys last night the story about Trey Turner in Philadelphia, and he was up there during that time. Turner signs this huge deal and was scuffling. Man, it was bad. And I don't know how the heck they started it, but they ended up deciding his first at bat of that day, they're going to give him a standing ovation. And I saw the city of Philadelphia pull Trey Turner out of a slump, and he's never been the same since then. And he was elite before then, but it's like it has just taken off and run with it. That's what this group can do here, because we're going to need it at some point. Like, these guys are going to need it. This season is long. It is hard. It is grueling. It is all those things. Man, that's my challenge to the fans is man, don't wait. Don't wait until we're a top 10 ranked team in the country. Don't wait until we host a regional. Don't wait for that. Like, show up tomorrow night at 4 o'clock and let's get rowdy and stick with us for 56 games, and I promise they'll enjoy the show.
Coach, arguably the star of the interscholastic scrimmages was Riley Quigg. Did you ever think he would be this effective, this fast, coming back from a tough elbow surgery last year?
No, I mean, not at all. I think it's a little bit of a tribute to how he's attacked his rehab, and there's no secret. This is probably Riley's last season in Tuscaloosa, right? I mean, he's going to be a pretty high draft pick if he does what he's supposed to do. And I've seen a lot of guys that they're on other teams, on teams I've coached, that are pro prospects like him, that go through a surgery like him, and their whole mentality from their family is like, it's all geared towards the draft in July, making sure they're good, making sure they take their time and building towards the draft in July. Riley has done nothing but build towards this opening day start against Bradley. His dad told me last year, I remember talking to Wayne on the phone last year when we were talking, and I said, Wayne, we're going to be smart with him. We're going to make sure we take care of him. We'll get him back right. And he said, you don't have to worry about Riley being one of those guys that looks past it. All that kid wants to do is go compete for Alabama. Like, he loves this place. His brother played football here. He's an Alabama fan through and through. And so I think for him, that is just really unique. And it's something that it's something we certainly don't take for granted as his teammates and as his coaches, because there's not a lot of guys in this world that less than 12 months off TJ are back doing what he's doing. So physically, he's a little bit of a freak in that regard. But at the same time, I think it all stems from his desire to compete for the University of Alabama. And that's something that, like I said, we ain't going to take for granted. And our supporters and our fans need to make sure they appreciate that as well, because that's very unique nowadays.
Carson, as a pitcher yourself, what have you seen from Riley's process and how he's attacked with just the fall and these preseason practices leading up to this weekend?
Yeah, I've been around a bunch of dudes who've had to come back from Tommy John surgeries in my time in college, and I've never seen someone come back this quick. He's been driven, like he's on top of his work here at the field and on top of his work at home, bringing stuff home from the training room and doing all that. So, I'm super excited to watch what he can do, and I'm looking forward to it.
Last two, Coach, I want to ask you about this outfield position group. Obviously, some transfers there you expect to make an impact, but you are replacing the entire opening day outfield from last year, and he's gone too. So what do you like about that group, and what new looks, I guess, have they brought to this clubhouse?
Yeah, I mean, starting, I guess, in right over with Bryce, we're fortunate, man. We've got two, like, legit center fielders, and we just have the ability to put one in center and one in right, and that's a luxury. Bryce is going to hit at the top of our order. It's toughness in his bat. It's swagger. It's all of those things that kind of set the tone for the game. And a little bit different type hitter than Gage Miller. I would love if he goes out and hits 380 with 18, but I don't know that that's Bryce's game. But he's comfortable in who he is, man, and it's got an edge to him that I really, really like. And he can really throw from right, man. Our arms in the outfield last year, Slight was very accurate, but it wasn't just a cannon. Same thing with kind of TJ and Ian, all three accurate throwers, but no plus arm strength, whereas like Bryce has a plus arm in right as well. So that's going to be a huge piece. I think that affects guys taking that extra base. That affects a lot of decision making the third base coach has to do. So he's a weapon there. Richie just covers ground like nobody's business at center. He can really go get it out there, and I think when you put those two in center and right, like if there's a hump in it in that part of the field, it's not getting down, which is huge, and that's something that just from an athleticism standpoint, it wasn't quite the same as last year, and that is not a knock on those groups because Slight was super consistent out there. TJ did a great job transitioning to center, and if you told me I could have TJ McCants back, I'd take him in a heartbeat. But really like the way those guys can defend in center field and right field. And then you have Caden left, who Cade is not as freak of an athlete as maybe those two are, but man, you're going to get every ounce of Cade. That guy will go Supermaning straight into the outfield wall if you need him to. And again, was a pitcher, plus arm out and left. So I think our arm strength has kind of popped up a little bit. And I think you have two premium athletes out in center and right that are going to cover a heck of a lot of ground. And there's just so many things. I say it all the time, like being a good defensive team is not strictly not making errors, right? It's can you take runs off the board? Can you make plays? It's not about just strictly the routine stuff. Can you go take that double in the gap and keep it to a single? Can you go make a play on a ball at the wall and instead of a double or a triple, it's an out? Like those are what elite defensive outfields do. And I think our group's got the capability of doing that.
Coach, this being your second year in the program, like personally, has it helped you like get more comfortable, like as a coach in this new like era after spending like was it 6 seasons in Maryland?
Yeah, so 6 as a head coach. I was there for 11. So yeah, it's year 2 is always, I don't want to say easier because every year has its challenges. I think when I got into this job, I had to make up my mind really quickly. Every day you're walking into work to put out a fire, to solve a problem, to do something, because it ain't ever easy. But what I'll say going into year 2 is you know a little bit more what to expect. I remember sitting here last year on this day, having no idea what that crowd was going to look like, having no idea what that was going to feel like. I remember on the eve of Tennessee coming to town to open up SEC play last year, kind of not even anxiety, but just this unknown of, I don't know what 10 straight weeks look like, because I was like Oz. I had played SEC teams before, but it had kind of been like a weekend here, a regional here. Like it wasn't the consistency of it. And so I remember sitting there a little bit uncertain on what lies ahead. And like I said, this certainty is not easier. I can promise you that. Like our 6 weeks of conference play are as hard as anybody's in the country, and shoot 10 weeks. There ain't an off weekend in the SEC. So I don't know that it's easier, but I feel like you approach it kind of seeing what's coming. You know what's coming. I know what we need to do to have success here. I have a better sense of like that dynamic of our team that we need to have. And that's my goal for this group, because like I said, we are far from a finished product, and both mentally and physically. And we talk about toughness a lot, but we've got to grow in that, because we're not as tough as we're going to be, I can promise you. And we're going to get hardened through the course of the season. And I'm excited to watch this group start to write their story, because everyone's unique. And our team in 22 at Maryland, when we hosted the first regional in school history, like, you had no idea what you're getting. We go to Baylor and we sweep the weekend at Baylor, and it's like, maybe we're all right. And then we go and play a really good Campbell team, and that has 2 big leaguers on it, and we sweep that weekend, and it was like, man, maybe we are kind of good. And so you just see every group write their story. I've also been on teams the other way where you have all this excitement going in, and you just can never quite string it together. So this group is getting ready to write their story, and the coolest part for me is I've told these guys, he's part of kind of our leadership group, like, man, toss them the keys. It's time for them to take us on a ride now. We'll try to put them in the best position, but this is their team. It is not about us. It's not about the coaches. It's not about any of that stuff. It's about these group of young men writing the story of 2025 for Alabama baseball, and it's going to be a fun ride.
Thanks, y'all.
Cool. Thanks, guys.
Appreciate it.